and welcome to a new chapter in the Mud and Blood podcast story. This new chapter is called Mud and Blood Plays, where Liam and I run actual play campaigns with role-playing games that fit the Mud and Blood theme. For this inaugural actual plays campaign, we're going to be playing Coriolis, a sci-fi horror game made by the Swedish publisher Fria Lagan. We're going to be recording this completely using audio, not using Roll20 or anything else, so that we are firmly staying in theater of the mind. To help us keep everything in a central location, I have created an Excel file which has all the details of the PCs, their ships, NPCs will encounter, locations will encounter, a reference document, and even a diary for when the sessions actually get started. That will be a live document that all myself and all the players will be able to access and edit. However, it will also be viewable to the public. So if you would like to keep an eye on that Excel file as we're playing, the link to that is mbcast.co/core-notes1, which is COR-notes1. That's one as in the number one. Okay, so with that introduction out of the way, let's start talking about the game and the players. Before we jump into the game itself, let's introduce the players, and we'll start with Adam. Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Without the icons, the suns would go out. Without prayer, the horizon would stop. Not my words, the words of Icon Mother Suresha. Hello, Bud and Blood audience.
Excellent. Adam, tell us about your experiences with role-playing and kind of introduce yourself a little bit.
Well, my experiences with role-playing go back to when I first met you. So getting on for, getting on for something like 7 years ago.
That's right, I think so.
We had a regular group, which still persists to this day, with yourself ringing in via Skype.
Mm-hmm.
Got a couple of other groups. This will be my third game at the moment, which is a new record for me.
What, three on the go at once?
Yes, I'm running a Fate game. I'm part of a 5e D&D game. And now this Coriolis campaign.
Keep him busy.
Indeed.
Yeah, so Adam's one of the players in my old group back in the UK. So as he said, so good to have him on board. And yeah.
It certainly is.
Okay, next up we've got Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte.
Hey, Matt.
So tell us about yourself, your role-playing pedigree, so to speak, and what you're getting up to with role-playing games.
Well, I am our Canadian component for the game. I am from Edmonton, Alberta. Role-playing wise, I've been probably playing since I was finished school, so that was quite a few years ago. I mainly picked up like Vampire the Masquerade back then, and I played the absolute shit out of it. A lot of it was free form on IRC and stuff like that, but that was my main game. I had the books for D&D back then, but never had anyone to play it. Right now, this is my second game I'm part of. My other game is a D&D 5 edition game that we have going with a local LGBT group, and that one meets up for now every second week of the month. We're looking at expanding that a little bit more. And in October, I plan on doing a one-shot to start off Conan. I want to do a game with people who DM and have only DMs as players, because in that way it's giving back to the ones who rarely get to play. And then after that, I'll have an adventure going that's a regular. I'm hoping to have it like bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks have a game going for that to give me time to do other things and get the adventures planned out. And on top of that, I am the owner for the Edmonton area Discord tabletop role-playing game. Got that set up to bring people together from all the different real time and getting games set up and all the fun stuff that goes along with that. And I've also been working on the bot for this game, so been keeping pretty busy lately.
Let's not forget the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Discord server.
Yeah, I run that too, and that's because you've stepped down. You've taken early retirement, so.
Indeed. In fact, that's how Charlotte and I met. I set up the 4th edition. Just the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Discord server for all editions. back in May of this year, 2018. And Charlotte was one of the very first members in that Discord server. And she became a mod within the first week that we went live. Yeah, we've chatted a lot since then. We've talked games and everything else. And yeah, she's a big fan of the show, and was kind of a no-brainer. I was looking for people to come on to play. My gaming groups are a little bit spread out, and I was trying to find a good mix of people from across different countries as well, so we had a little bit of a mix of accents. And yeah, welcome. I'm glad to have you on, Charlotte. I'm curious to
Thank
see.
you.
I've never actually played a game with you, so I'm kind of curious to see, how crazy you get.
Yeah, me too. I tend to have characters that kind of sit back a little bit more, that they're not front and center, but that may change with this character. We shall see.
Okay, cool. And last but certainly not least, we've got Nathan. Nathan is my in real life brother. And Nathan, welcome.
Thank you, Matt. It's fun to be part of this Coriolis game.
So tell us about, I know all about your RPG exploits, but for our listeners and for Adam and Charlotte, give us a quick recap of kind of how you started role playing and what you're doing right now as well.
Let's see. So I first began game mastering in 2006, first in the Neverwinter Nights 1 PC game, and later in the Neverwinter Nights 2 PC game, through the Persistent World community there. And I did that for about a decade. When D&D 5th edition came out, I began playing tabletop with pen and paper and dice for the first time, and have switched over to that as my main way of gaming. Sometimes as a player, but generally I'm the game master because I buy all the books and I read all the rules. So I also enjoy role playing the adversaries. So I have GM'd extensively in 5th edition through most of the published adventures. I also have GM'd most of the Year Zero games, starting with Mutant Year Zero and then Coriolis several times, and also the Forbidden Lands in the alpha. And eventually I will do a Forbidden Lands revisit once I get my physical book for that later. I am currently GMing a D&D 5th edition Dark Suns campaign, and putting that onto Twitch. Actually, we were experimenting with that last night and did not record it, unfortunately, though we were live. And that is called Wayward Dice on Twitch, and might be a weekly thing. So that is just starting up. Again, that's
and you're GMing, or DMing that, are you?
We tried going a GM-less route and did not have much success, so I'm going to GM that. And I also have a game club at the school where I work, and we are also playing Coriolis there as well. And I'm the
Cool.
GM, and that's my group that will switch over to Forbidden Lands later, I believe.
Okay, cool.
And I have a play-by-post and this, so.
Awesome. So you're busy. I think it's interesting to see that the three of you are all involved currently in a 5th edition D&D game of some description. So the most popular game on the planet, probably, for at least in the English-speaking world. I'm not, so I'm the odd one out. But I've got this going now. So yeah, excited. Very, very excited. And the cool thing as well is that Nathan is quite experienced, as you mentioned, with Coriolis. He's currently GMing a Coriolis campaign. He's also run Coriolis several times in the past. So although I've had the book since it was physically released and have read it, I've never actually run or played a game in Coriolis. So Adam has no experience with this. Charlotte has no experience with this game. And I've told them, don't go and get the book. I'll be providing all the rules as we need them to go along. So that way, all of you at home listening, we're not going too fast for you to be able to follow the kind of the rules and stuff. Thankfully, this isn't a very crunchy system, so there won't be a ton of rules to keep track of. So let's talk about setting. Coriolis has a really, really rich setting. It makes up a massive portion of the core rulebook. And instead of waffling on ad nauseum about the setting, I'm just going to read a short passage from the introduction of the book, which is entitled Coriolis in a Nutshell. It just basically gives you the themes of the book in a nice, concise package. Coriolis, the Third Horizon, is a role-playing game set in space. There are ships, space stations, and starry vistas, just like in any other space-themed RPG. What separates Coriolis from other sci-fi RPGs is first and foremost the social environment, which in Coriolis is strongly inspired by Middle Eastern culture rather than the Western one. Food, music and fashion, as well as religion, philosophy, and literature. Most importantly, myths and folktales from the Middle East deeply entwine with the spirit of the game world. The Third Horizon is a world where ancient myths meet high technology. A central theme to Coriolis is the conflict between the First Come, the Horizon's earliest settlers, and the Zenithians, descendants to the second wave of colonists arriving on board the Zenith. Although the First Come had already established their culture throughout the Horizon when Zenith arrived, the Zenithians have grown to dominate more and more in the last decades through trade, hostile expansion, and colonization. The Zenithians' cultural imperialism is a key factor in the conflict between the Consortium, a Zenithian faction, and the First Come Order of the Pariah. Worship of the icons permeates everything in the world of Coriolis. The religion is the smallest common denominator for peoples of the Third Horizon. While faith is strongest with the First Come, especially so amongst the ranks of the Church of the Icons and the Order of the Pariah, the recently arrived Zenithians have too converted to worshipping the icons in large numbers. The level of religious commitment varies, from the superstitious hauler crew praying to the traveler before a portal jump, to missionaries zealously devoted to the holiest of struggles, saving the Horizon one soul at a time. The omens have foretold it, and the clergy have preached it for a long time now. The dark between the stars, the unspeakable, corrupting force at work in the intersection between civilization and the endless nothingness of space. It seems to be real. In Coriolis, the dark between the stars plays roughly the role of the devil in Earth's Christianity. Okay, mechanics then. This is a D6 dice pool system with a pass-fail mechanic. So that basically means you build up a dice pool based on your attributes, plus your skills, plus any potential gear you're carrying. And you roll that dice pool, and any sixes you get contribute towards success. If you don't get any sixes on that roll, you don't succeed. You can re-roll by praying to one of the icons. There is a mechanic, though, called darkness points. They are basically a mechanic that I can use to affect the game and make the party's lives a little bit more complicated. The GM, myself, will collect darkness points through various means, but one of the main ways that I will collect darkness points is when people pray to the icons and re-roll.
There's the ever popular your gun runs out of ammo or your batteries have died.
Yeah, so there are there are lots and lots of ways that I can spend darkness points, and we'll get into that, I think, once we actually start playing the game. But yeah, definitely one of them is I can make your guns run out of ammo, and you'll be forced to use a reload if you have them. I tend not to be too much of a dick GM. I try not to be anyway. So yeah, I probably wouldn't be... we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We'll see. I might end up being quite dickish to you all.
We may deserve it.
You may deserve it. You very may will deserve it, and that's why I'm reserving judgment.
He's so commanding. I like it.
So, we're going to get into the meat of the session, which is character creation and all the other creation bits that we need to do. And this is split up into a number of segments. We're going to do them a little bit out of order from what the book has. We're going to do group creation first. We'll do character creation. Then we'll do spaceship creation. And last but not least, we'll be doing a starting system creation. Coriolis has great built-in tools for allowing sandbox play, and I'm excited to delve into those and to use them, not exclusively, but use them as much as possible. And that's one of them. So we will pick one of the 36 star systems that currently exist in the Third Horizon, and we will flesh out what that star system looks like using dice rolls and common sense. Okay. So let's start with group creation. I should caveat this whole thing by saying we have done a little bit of discussion offline before the session to come up with group concepts, to come up with character concepts, and to come up with a very rough idea of spaceship in terms of size and that sort of thing. So group creation. I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, so I'm going to try and pass over to you guys. First thing before I do that is just to say, there are a selection of groups presented in the book, 5, I believe. You can choose to be free traders, mercenaries, explorers, agents, or pilgrims. And would one of you like to talk around what group concept you landed on?
Shall I?
Go for it.
Yeah, go
for
ahead.
it.
Okay. I believe it was we went as a group concept explorers, and a subset of that correspondence, because I've certainly never played a newsman before in a role-playing game, and it seemed a novelty.
Indeed. What I really like about the journalist concept is that the players have built-in reason to go all around the Third Horizon, to delve into the various planets, to stick their noses in where they don't belong.
And take stuff that's not ours.
Oh yeah. To just basically get up to a lot of mischief and mayhem with a bit of credibility behind it. So yeah, as soon as they kind of touched on that as a group concept, I was all well up for that as well. So full GM support on that. The next thing you do once you've come up with a concept is you look at creating a patron and a nemesis. This is a group patron and a group nemesis. Now, Adam came up with a concept for both of those. Why don't you pitch those, Adam? Then we can. I don't think we've all necessarily agreed on it, but go ahead and pitch them again, and then we can have a little chat around it.
Sure. Okay, so my concept for the patron, Ayan Antun, the 15-year-old editor of new online magazine Probity, the only newsman naive enough to take our crew of correspondents on. Fabulously wealthy scion of the Antun shipping dynasty, looking to do some good in the horizon, though there'll be merry hell if Daddy finds out what he's up to.
Yeah.
And you came back to me with some feedback. You wanted to make him a little bit older at 16, with Dad recently entrusting him with a small fortune to see how well he can do, with a little bit of wind beneath his wings.
Yeah, I was just kind of playing with the idea and kind of just trying to tweak it slightly because I can't help myself. The other thing is, as like an online magazine, I think it fits the setting more if it's more like a holo news channel.
Sure. They've pivoted to video.
They've pivoted to holo, which is kind of more like 3D video. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my thinking was that if he's a little bit older and being like a social media influencer, so I'm imagining one of these like super popular kids, basically between the age of like 16 and 20, who are trying to get 1 million plus followers on YouTube. In my head, I was thinking it'd be kind of interesting if he was in the same boat.
Mm-hmm. He's sort of 50% in it for idealism, 50% for fashion chasing.
Yeah. And you guys are his like edgy meal ticket for him to be able to like report on the crazy shit that's going on in the Third Horizon. Obviously, if he's broadcasting all this, his dad's going to find out about it fairly quickly. So I was thinking if we had like a Donald Trump sort of scenario where his dad, maybe he's 16, he's kind of come of age, and his dad has basically said, here's a portion of my wealth. Go and do whatever you like with it and see if you can make more money out of it. And that was my thinking. That was my take on it. But yeah, I really like the idea of a naive, wealthy kid who's not super concerned about faction politics as a patron. I think it's a really cool idea. Charlotte and Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it works out. I've already decided that my character's not going to like kids, so that should come into a few interesting meetings with them.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it as well. It's very well thought out. There's a lot of flavor there. I usually work with a lot less, so I think that's great. I don't have anything better to suggest, so.
Okay, cool. Adam, did I sway your starting concept at all, or you want to stick with him being 15 and doing it on the sly?
15, 16 doesn't matter too much to me. I think he's still basically a child.
Yeah.
Still got the tension of us having to answer to this little boy. I'm happy to put it to the group, really, if he's clandestine or not.
He's probably got his finger in multiple pots or pies, and he might even have multiple hollow channels going. So he might have like a front that's kind of like more visible, and he may have a more like shadowy, like he just might have multiple channels. Probably people have multiple social media accounts to hide stuff from their parents, and he does as well, maybe.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I kind of like that with the different types of stuff that we'd be sending into him could get distributed on different platforms.
It also introduces a nice little angle, which is that if he's got any content that's likely to piss off some of the factions, it's going to be you guys who are going to be the face of that channel. And he might be like a silhouetted figure with a distorted voice in the background introducing
Making himself look
Yeah,
big.
that could be quite interesting. I like that.
Yeah, there's plenty there. I think it's great.
Okay, well, we'll use that as a starting point.
If there's some jeopardy for him as well, if there's some jeopardy in people finding out that it's him, that's a nice source of tension.
Yep. Okay, I kind of wanted to flesh it out a little bit and get my head around exactly what he's going to be like, because I'm obviously going to be playing him as a GM. So let's move to the Nemesis then. Adam, you had another pitch for the Nemesis. Let's hear it.
Well, my pitch was basically an outer space Hell's Angel, Omar the Fist. The crew's first journalistic foray together was an embed with the infamous nomadic anarchist gang, the Horns of Barbados. Finding their reputation as freedom lovers to be only so much hot air, they were instead revealed to be not so much dropouts from society as kickouts, emotionally and intellectually unfit for anything but the violent, venal criminality they were engaged in. Chapter leader Omar was not just incensed by the unflattering broadcast, and also by the group spiriting away his abused common law wife to safety when they left the group.
Yeah. Charlotte, Nathan?
Yeah, I think that fits rather well. I don't think there's really much to add. It covers a few different areas that we could touch on, I find.
Yep. Nathan?
Yeah, I think Adam's ideas here are pretty great. In my games, they generally tend to be more combat heavy and exploration heavy. So I really like these. The whole explorer correspondence angle. There's just a lot of, I think, more role play centric ideas here that I think they're going to work really well.
Shucks, thanks.
Cool. So we're agreed. I like Omar the Fist as a concept as well. It gives me a reason to kind of throw a group of Hell's Angels at you guys.
Can I set you some homework
Oh, boy.
to study the vocal patterns of Macho Man Randy Savage? Because that's Omar's.
Macho Man Randy Savage. I'm writing it down, Adam.
Yeah.
No
Excellent.
promises. No promises. But I might just pull one out as a little Easter egg for you. Okay. The last thing to do with group creation is coming up with a group talent. So this is where we need you to look through the book. I'm not sure you guys have done this all yet, but there are basically 3 talents available for every group concept. And effectively, you've got 3 options there under Explorers.
I can read them out if you want.
Sure.
So our 3 options are: first, seasoned travelers. We can test our manipulation instead of culture to understand a group's customs. The second option is titled survivors. You can get out of a dangerous situation somehow connected to nature, such as a brush fire or explosive decompression. The whole group escapes the danger. The third option is truth seekers. You can find important information or get a clue from the GM without rolling dice. The information must be important enough to enable you to overcome a minor obstacle or a challenge in the scenario.
So I'm going to step in as the GM and say I'm not super keen on that last one, the Truth Seekers one, where you guys get information or clues from me about the plot. Mainly because we're doing a sandbox campaign, and some of the plot is going to be very, very fluid. And I don't really want to be put on the spot to have to come up with a plot device that I'm going to regret later because of that use of that. So I prefer.
We'll find somebody to shake you down.
I prefer one of the other 2, please.
I think number 2, the survivors, could be a good option for us.
Yeah, I like that it also gives us the opportunity to feed the GM a darkness point. The seasoned travelers didn't have that. It's just swapping tests, which I don't really care for.
Yeah.
I also don't think my PC is going to be very widely traveled, so the survivors definitely seems the best in my opinion.
You agreed, Adam, with that?
I was quite keen on the seasoned travelers. My bias is kind of more for the more role-play side of it, but that's 2 against 1. So survivors it is.
Well, I mean, if it comes down to rolling between our 3 characters, our character concepts that we've discussed previously have such a wide range that unless we're separated from each other, one of us should be able to make a decent enough roll to understand a group's customs.
Yes.
So instead of me talking to them, have you talk to them?
Yeah, Adam, you're gonna have a reasonably high score in culture anyway. So that's kind of more use if you've got a group of explorers who don't have a cultural person among them and they need to interact with people. So
Mhm.
in reality, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
I think survivors also helps with only 3 party members. We might get into a situation where we might have a total party kill, and so it might be
That's true.
we will get out of that situation possibly at the expense, like it might bite us later with the darkness point.
Yeah. All right, Adam, you happy with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's group creation basically finished. We're gonna move on to character creation. So
Awesome.
I'm basically gonna do this step by step as it appears in the book, and I know a lot of you, or most of you, have done all of this anyway. So let's talk about the concepts first. Adam, which concept did you go with?
A sort of Hunter S. Thompson in space.
Yeah. So the concept is negotiator, and we
Mhm.
decided that you were basically
Oh,
going
beg
to
your
be
pardon.
the agitator sub-concept. Negotiator, agitator. And rightly so, your kind of high concept is like a Hunter S. Thompson journalist.
Very chemically influenced.
Very chemically influenced. And you're going to play a woman as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's cool. So we've got a journalist. We've got the face woman for the for this journalistic group. Let's move to Charlotte. Charlotte, what was the concept you wanted to go with?
My concept was a trailblazer with the scout step to it. Yeah, sub-concept, sorry. Kind of going for a bit of a relic hunter feel. From what I've been able to work out so far, my character comes from a bit of a backwater planet, so she had the opportunity to explore and be a bit of a tour guide for people who wanted to go check out the what was the term used for sentient species, but not community-based or whatever it was.
Well, in the book, in the bestiary section, they call them semi-intelligences, which are
I think that's the word that I'm looking for.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the term I'm looking for.
Right. Okay. So your concept is a trailblazer scout. We've heard a bit about your background there as well, but we'll get back to that. And Nathan, your concept?
Yeah, I ended up choosing a scientist, technician type. I wanted someone who had maybe like spent most of his life in space and was constantly fiddling with whatever thing he's inhabiting, a spaceship or a space station. He's always fiddling with broken things and repairing them. And so the technician kind of seemed to fit that
Cool. Yep.
idea.
Okay. So the thing I like about this is we're going with a 3 PC group, which is always a little bit of a challenge in a game like this. This game is really designed ideally for 4 or 5 players, maybe even 6. So 3 is we're kind of putting a bit of a stress test on the system. But what I really like about this concept is it feels like you guys are covering a lot of different skill sets amongst your 3 choices. We've got the journalist, who's also going to be really good at manipulating people and interacting with people. We have the scout, who's basically going to be really good at sneaking around, also good at shooting a rifle. Yeah, and outdoor survival, because we're talking about exploring the edges of civilization. So that works really well for that. A little bit of survivability there. And then we've got the person who is basically the pilot and also the tinkerer to keep all the like sci-fi tech running and maybe creating some new stuff as well.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of a paranoid MacGyver type.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I really like it. I think it's I think there's a lot of good synergy here between the 3 of you. So yeah, really happy. Okay, let's talk about background. Let's try and keep this a bit brief and try and skip through character creation as much as possible. Start with Adam. Did you think about a planet that you came from?
Yes, I'd like to come from central Kua.
Okay, cool.
The center of the horizon, location of Coriolis, so quite cosmopolitan.
Okay. And your upbringing. So are you plebeian, stationary, or privileged?
Stationary.
Stationary. Okay, cool. Let's move across to Charlotte. You mentioned already from like a backwater planet. So does that mean plebeian, I guess, or?
Yeah, I'm going with plebeian. The planet's name is Amido.
Amido, yep. Mm-hmm. That's good. Okay, so we've got your upbringing as plebeian. We got your your kind of origin being Amido. Is Amido actually a? I think it's a system, but I guess we can say that there's a planet called that as well.
It's a system, the binary Amido system.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you come from the Amido system. And Nathan, your character?
I also selected stationary, and in a attempt at randomness, I closed my eyes and stabbed my finger onto the Third Horizon map, and selected Algabar, which
Algabar.
is
Okay,
on the bottom of the map there.
got it. Next to an
And
unstable
it,
portal. Interesting.
yeah, so he managed to escape, and I believe he was probably born and has lived most of his life in like space stations or some sort of asteroid mining colony type of thing.
Okay,
And he's now traveling.
cool. Sounds good. Okay, next we're going to figure out which icon you were born under, and this is a D66 roll. We did talk about not making this random, but I think we are going to do this randomly. So this,
Oh, really?
yeah,
I was quite keen on the dancer.
that's because the icon talent. Everyone gets a talent tied to the icons, and some of them are pretty juicy if you can pick and choose. So I'd like to roll first, and we'll see how that lands for each of us, and then
Okay.
we'll maybe there can be a little bit of negotiation.
Where's the table for this one located?
Doesn't really matter. I've got it open. All you need to do is in Discord head over to the Coriolis rolling channel and roll a D66. Each of you, please. Okay, so Nathan is born under the sign of the Judge. Charlotte's born under the sign of the Dancer.
Maybe I'll trade you there, Adam.
Oh, yes, please.
Let's see what he rolls. 51. The Messenger.
Messenger.
That's a good one for your character, actually. The fleet-footed messenger brings news, prayers, and omens to wherever the faithful might be. Right. So, kind of wanted to make this like a random thing, but let's hear your thoughts on it. The Dancer's talent is actually quite good for you as a combat person, Charlotte. You can evade an incoming attack, taking no damage.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm keeping it. It's all mine.
Oh,
The messenger's talent, Adam, you can make someone obey you through careful words and actions without having to test manipulation.
Okay.
Yeah, these actually work out pretty well.
It does seem somewhat fated, my character being a journalist.
You can
Yes,
use
I'll
it on
take
both.
that.
It says you can use it on both NPCs and PCs, although I might have I might need to step in there with PCs. I'm not a huge fan of using dice rolls to manipulate other players, but anyway.
Sure.
Your wish must be reasonable, and you cannot, for example, force an NPC to act completely against her own interests. Okay. The Judge's talent, Nathan, you deal an automatic critical injury when your attack hits, regardless of whether the attack penetrated cover and armor. Well, that's pretty powerful, actually.
Yeah, this one is so overpowered that if I let my players choose a icon, they generally take this one to auto crit. So we usually randomly select.
The thing about icon talents is that they can only be used once per session, and every time you use them, I get a darkness point. So it's just something to be aware of, that you can't really spam them that much. But I think they fit. Actually quite well. So I think we're gonna keep them, guys. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I had an idea because the dancer is a two-aspect icon. There's the dancer and the musician. And I was going to, when my character was tripping, I was going to see variously Ginger Rogers as the dancer and Prince as the musician.
So there's nothing stopping you from worshipping any icons you want and following whichever icons you want, Adam.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't say it was worship. It was more like a psychoactive experience.
Yeah, and there's nothing stopping that from happening. This is more, this is the sign that you were born under, and it grants you a certain talent. So it's just a little bit of a slightly different thing than that.
Righto.
It's kind of like astrology with like Sagittarius and Taurus and so on.
Exactly. Okay, let's try and finish this off fairly quickly, can. Name and appearance. Who's ready?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, my character is called Kalia al-Rufai.
And appearance?
A sort of sprightly 43 years old. Her face is covered up mostly by reflective shades, a surgical mask, a broad-brimmed hat, and a mess of curly dark hair. She wears a close-fitting lavender greatcoat and big stompy hobnail boots.
Excellent. I like it. Charlotte or Nathan, have you got a name and your appearance worked out?
Yeah, I've got half a name so far, and appearance I got the rough rough outline, I will spend the next few weeks between now and our next session figuring out what I want her to specifically look like.
Okay. Give us a bit of an idea then. First name and what you've got.
Yeah, so for name, I've got Luna, Lunah.
Mm-hmm.
And for the look, she's going to stand about 5'9", medium build, with reddish brown hair, which goes about shoulder length, and medium blue eyes. She will have scout type clothing, like a combat jacket and some cargo pants or something, with a headband to keep her hair tied back when she's out in the field, and
Okay.
all those accessories that'll go with that. But yeah, I'll have a bit of a better write up for it once we get into session 1, and a last name as well.
Good stuff. Nathan?
Yeah, so my guy has the name Xanathar, and sometimes nicknamed Xana. And as far as appearance, having spent most of his time in space, oftentimes in 0G, he's going to not have seen much sunlight. So if you were to glimpse his skin, which would probably never happen, it will be fairly pale. He's kind of paranoid about, like atmosphere, perhaps, where he doesn't want to have his skin or his lungs exposed to parasites or foreign microbes, and so he usually wears underneath his clothing his thermostatic suit. Usually has a mask on or some kind of respirator. So he generally won't have his physical characteristics visible, because it'll be buried under layers of technological protection, so to speak. So he's gonna usually have a suit on and maybe a breather, something along those lines. And he probably is going to, as far as physical characteristics, besides pale skin, I think he might. I'm starting at the idea that he's probably going to shave off all of his body hair, maybe so he gets a better fit on his suit or something.
His head as well. So bald.
Everything. I think he does a chemical. He just rubs a chemical gel and just strips all the hair.
Okay, cool. I like that quite a bit. I think you've got some quite cool characters picked out. The next thing to look at is your reputation. So reputation is used anytime you're doing a manipulation test with an NPC. You compare reputation scores, and the dice pool gets modified based on the difference of your reputation. So the higher your reputation, the better you can manipulate people, basically. So your plebeian and stationary upbringings will affect your starting position, and then it also gets modified by your concept. Have you guys worked them out for yourselves already?
This is not the part of role-playing I shine at.
Okay, it's fine. It's 5. You get a 4 for being stationary, and you get a +1 for being a negotiator. Okay, Nathan or Charlotte?
Mine also has a reputation of 5 as well.
Okay, cool. And Charlotte?
Okay, so I'm a bit of a noob on this one. For being a plebeian, I'm assuming reputation gets lowered by 1.
So it's 2. You have a starting reputation of 2.
And because I'm a scout, I get no modifications onto that. So I get 2.
Yep, 2 reputation. So you're not going to be very good at manipulating people until your reputation increases, because you're a plebeian.
Elbow backwater.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's reputation finished. Next step is attributes and skills. We're probably going to do a lot of this offline. I'm kind of cognizant that we're running a little bit over where I wanted us to be by this stage. So,
Are you seriously telling me Mud and Blood is overrunning?
watch it.
That never happens.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of cognizant that we might be spending a little bit more detail than people are usually used to on a session 0 recording. So starting attributes, there are 4 attributes in this game: strength, agility, wits, and empathy. And based on your upbringing, you get a certain number of points to spread across them. You can't go any lower than 2 on any of them, and you can only go up to 5 in 1, and that 1 is it's called your key attribute. So every concept has one.
Mm-hmm.
Trailblazer is wits, scientist is wits, and the negotiator is empathy. So has anybody done that?
Yes,
No.
I've given it a go.
Yeah, I have as well.
All right. Charlotte, you too?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, maybe you could do it as these two are walking through them. So you've got 15 to play with, and you can go up to 5 in wits. So have a little play with that while the other guys are doing theirs. Maybe we'll
Sure.
have it. So let's have Adams first.
Okay, so I went with strength 2, agility 3, wits 4, empathy 5. But what you're saying, I need 5 in wits. Is that right?
No. You're the negotiator.
Okay.
You can go up to 5 in empathy, so that's perfectly correct. The one
Brilliant.
thing I would mention is just be aware that you're going to be pretty weak in any kind of combat if we come across it. But you're going to have quite strong mind. So there are 2 types of damage you can take, or trauma that you can take. You've got hit points and you've got mind points. So you're going to have 5 hit points, Adam, and you're going to have 9 mind points.
Charlotte, please protect me.
I am working on it.
Okay, Nathan, your character.
Do you just want the attributes, or you want me to just run through everything quickly?
Just the attributes.
Okay. Strength 3, agility 4, wits 5, empathy 2. And
Okay.
for my hit points and mind points, those both average out at 7 apiece.
Right. I think that fits empathy of 2. You're not the most sociable of characters. I like that. Okay, and how you doing there, Charlotte, with Luna?
I have the attributes down.
Good, let's hear them.
So I've got strength 4, agility 4, wits
Okay.
5, and empathy 2. So
Okay, so again, Adam, you're definitely the empathic person here who's gonna have to deal with everyone.
yeah, just don't talk to me.
I will communicate through my device.
Okay, excellent. So you're gonna have hit points of 8, and you're gonna have mind points of 7, which is pretty good spread there, Charlotte. Okay, so that's that. Skills. Now you get 10 skill points for the stationary people, so that's Nathan and Adam, and you get 8 skill points for being a plebeian. So the plebeian has more attributes but fewer skill points. I don't know if you guys have spent those, but basically
I have given it a try.
Okay, so for every core concept, sub-concept I should say, you have concept skills. There are 4 of them listed there. So you can put up to 3 points in any of those 4 concept skills. And for every other skill, you can put 1 single point in if you want. Okay? Basic skills you can use even if you don't have any skill points in them. You just roll the base attribute that it's tied to. And advanced skills, you have to have at least 1 point in them to be able to roll for them. So yeah, 10. Adam and Nathan, you've got 10 to spread, and Charlotte, you've got 8. Okay, last thing to talk around is talents. So each of your concepts has a list of 3 talents that you can choose from. Rather than going through each of your options separately, I'll just summarize the options that you guys chose, and then we'll move on to the next section. So Adam, you chose lie detector, which is a cybernetic implant that allows you to more easily detect if somebody's lying to you if you're touching them. Charlotte, you chose 9 lives, which allows you to switch the dice on a critical injury against you, which can potentially help save your life. And Nathan, you chose the gearhead talent, which allows you to jury rig one-use items for specific tasks, which fits in with your MacGyver theme very nicely. And that's it for talents. Personal problem is the next one. So if you look at your concepts again, so there'll be a list of like 3 personal problems. You can also choose other ones. So Adam, for you, that's on page 37.
Well, I thought about making up one, if that's allowed.
Absolutely.
Chemically dependent, addicted to amyl nitrate inhalants, believes the air on populated world is rich in wool-sapping futrox gas, which is only counteracted by a urea-soaked face mask, etc., etc. Just a nut on drugs. A lot of the time.
That's good. I'm happy with that. Yeah. Okay, you're a substance abuser on an epic scale.
None more epic.
Nathan or Charlotte, have you got a personal problem worked out?
Yeah, I can go. I will go with you have a dark secret that has made you the target of a faction. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to be my dark secret, but I might know of somebody else's dark secret.
Yeah, let's work that out just between the 2 of us, away from Nathan and Adam. Yeah?
Sure, yeah.
And then we can decide whether you want to share that with them or not. We'll just put dark secret on the Excel character sheet.
I have 6 toes.
You cannot be knocked over.
And you'll never fit into that exoshell.
All right, Nathan, what have you got?
Really think my idea for him, I mentioned earlier, with wearing a suit and a mask, he's paranoid about pathogens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a problem. It might even affect how he makes a lot of his
We
decisions.
can bond over that.
Yeah, I think he's going to prefer synthetic coping chemicals as opposed to any sort of plant-derived. Yeah, so if he's going to participate, it's got to be distilled or man-made in a laboratory by scientists.
I like it.
We're all just bombing across the third horizon in our spaceship. All fucked.
Okay, last but not least, before we do relationships, is gear. So the way this works in the game is your starting gear is tied to your concept. You have 5 pieces of gear you get, and each of those 5 pieces of gear is an option. You pick one or another of an option.
I can run through these.
Let's do it.
If I take a tabula, a comlink, doses of Canberra, a lie detector, and a Vulcan cricket.
Okay, which is a gun? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Nathan or Charlotte, are either of you available already?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much good to go. There's only one that I'm uncertain of. Just want to find some information on it. Anyway, yes, I have decided to go with the recon drone for my first option. The Vulcan carbine, which will get modified later, as you and I spoke about. I'm going to take the 5 M doses because first aid, why not?
Yeah.
I'll take the exo shell, which I believe, if I read that correctly, is more for ship aspected things, correct?
Think of it like a spacesuit.
Right. So any kind of boarding actions, we would generally have that on.
Yep.
And an environmental scanner.
Okay. Okay, and Nathan, last but not least.
All right. Taking the proximity sensor, computer, which I think is going to be wrist mounted, kind of like a Pip-Boy. Exo shell, med kit, which comes with 10 M doses, and also taking the advanced tools.
Okie doke. I don't want to go through what people have bought extra. We'll just do that offline, and it'll be updated on the Excel spreadsheets. Cool. And that's it really for your characters. The last thing is relationships, and you're meant to come up with a relationship for every other PC in the party. It makes it really easy with 3 PCs because each of you only have to think of 2 relationships. There are some samples in the book also on the same page with your character concepts. First of all, does anybody have a relationship? I kind of have to agree it, but it's really how you feel about the other PCs. And the other thing to mention with it is that there's a buddy system. So you have to pick one of the other 2 that you feel is they use the term buddy. It's like who you feel really close to out of those 2. Has anybody done any of that yet?
I'm happy to give it a little go. A minute.
So the idea is you come up with a phrase, like a one sentence, snappy phrase that says how you feel about them. And it's just to rattle through, for example, for the negotiator, the 3 options, or one of the options is blank is easy to like and easy to manipulate. Blank is very blunt. You don't understand each other, that sort of thing.
So for Luna, I'm thinking Luna makes me feel self-conscious because I came from a military background, very square, very practical people, and something is set off in me when we interact.
It's just jealousy because I'm so damn pretty.
So to make it snappy, we just say Luna makes me feel self-conscious, and that's perfectly fine.
Nathan, what's your character's name again?
Xanathar.
Xanathar. Xanathar, I'm thinking he's not terribly worldly. I'm thinking maybe Xanathar is easy to like and easy to manipulate from the book.
Okay, I like that.
Definitely so.
Okay. Either of you have any other ideas?
Yeah, I think I do. I'm just going to take him right from the Trailblazer
Perfect. Yep.
sheet. Won't stop talking. I'm going to be throwing that one at Kalia because I'm assuming that she's just be rattling her face off.
Especially
always
when she's
under,
high.
Yeah, always under the influence of something. And then for Xanathar, he just won't stop looking so gloomy. Can't see what he looks like underneath, but he just looks miserable.
So Xanathar always looks gloomy, and Kalia won't stop talking. Okay. And Nathan, have you got that yours working out as well?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna pick from the list here as well for the scientists. I have 4 options.
Yeah.
I think that Clea makes me insecure. Maybe the persona is so powerful, I just kind of like intimidated, um,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like quiet.
This is a very
Yeah.
healthy boat.
Perfect. And for Luna, I think her stats were almost similar to mine with the 5 wits and 2 empathy. So there was one here that says is almost as smart as me, impressive. So I might think because of my technology use, I think I'm maybe got a little bit of a mental superiority complex when it comes to intelligence. But if you strip away the technology, she's probably much more intelligent than me. But I don't know that.
Oh, you know what? That would be perfect because one of my options here is always correcting me, even when he or she is wrong.
Oh, yeah, that you should always be
Okay, I'm
correcting me.
going to trade. I'm going to. Although that'd be what I see you doing to me. You'd always be correcting
Oh,
me,
yes.
even when you're wrong.
Oh, yes. Okay, perfect.
I'm going to change that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree. Yeah. So Xanathar is always correcting you. Okay. So bearing those in mind, can you each of you pick a buddy? So who do you feel like particularly tied to out of those two?
I'll go with Luna.
Okay.
They both annoy me already.
How about you, Nathan?
Since Kalia makes me insecure, probably Luna as well. Especially if I'm correcting her, I might feel a little bit more open to her, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go with Xanathar because the constant talking from a scout standpoint would drive me up the wall.
Okie doke. So that is character creation finished. We've got our 3 characters, and if you want to go see how they've spread their skill points and purchase extra weapons or armor, that sort of thing, go ahead and look at the Excel spreadsheet. Next on the list is spaceship creation, and we're definitely not going to be going into a lot of detail here. We'll do a lot of this offline because this is going to be a huge time sink. So yeah, basically the first thing you do is you choose the class of ship. There are 5 classes in the game. Class 1 being small, like a fighter, like a fighter with a single person cockpit. Class 2, which is more like a shuttlecraft or a torpedo ship, it's called in the game, that sort of thing. Class 3 are your standard light freighters, patrol ships, courier ships, space yachts, those sorts of things. So what people would really be familiar with from like Star Wars, for example, like the Millennium Falcon, or in Firefly, the Serenity, those would be Class 3 ships. Class 4 ships are heavy freighters, cruisers, salvage ships, mining ships, small space stations, etc. And Class 5 are battle cruisers, bulk haulers, portal stations. So big things. So if we take the Star Wars analogy, Class 4 would probably be like a Corellian Corvette, if anybody knows what that is, and a Star Destroyer would be a Class 5. So those are the 5 classes, and I kind of pitched to the group that it might be a bit more interesting if we didn't do a small freighter thing, but instead we went with something a bit bigger. And so I pitched the idea that the players start off with a Class 4 ship, which is slow, not very maneuverable, but big, and that it comes with a Class 2 ship docked in it, which is basically going to be like a shuttle. So basically what would happen is for the exploring expeditions, you would arrive into a system in this big ship, you would put it into orbit, hop on your shuttle, and you would take the shuttle down to the planet's surface, do your stuff, and then you take the shuttle back to the ship. And yeah, it seems like everybody was really keen on that idea. So does anybody want to kind of talk around that?
I do like the idea of using a repurposed space station. So maybe we have like kind of like a mobile space station. I kind of had like maybe the like a central axis is like a ship, but along its like main portion, it has spinning like arms or rings.
Yep. Class 4 ships are very expensive. I mean, we're talking several million burr cost-wise. And the way this game works is when you get your starting ship, you instantly start off the game being in debt for half of the value. So you can buy all sorts of extra features to go onto it, extra weapons, but the kind of trade-off is every little feature that you add to your ship is also debt that you start off with, and you have to pay 5% of the 5% of the debt per year split into monthly payments. So there's a huge incentive on you in game to be making money to pay off your debt. And this is going to be crippling debt having a class 4 ship. And what I was thinking is, my thinking was, this is an abandoned or derelict or partially destroyed space station from the Portal Wars. And somebody has basically patched it up, and they've whacked an engine on it and done a few little bits to make it into a viable ship. But it looks like a piece of shit. It runs like a piece of shit. And because maybe it can, like, there's been some sort of explosive decompression, a lot of souls died on board this when it was a station. So I was thinking, rather than having, you also have a ship that comes with a problem, and some of the problems are boring, a little bit more boring. You can roll on a random table for them. I was going to pitch to you that this has 2 problems. One is that it's cursed, and by cursed, I'm actually saying it's going to be haunted.
Ugh.
The second one is that it's also going to have an eccentric ship intelligence.
Perfect. I hope there's still the corpses of the dead floating around in the decompressed areas.
Well, we'll see. We'll fill out details of that later.
What's wrong with
but
you?
This is what I wanted
sorry.
to pitch to you guys, is that by giving it 2 problems, I'm also going to lower the starting price by a percentage. I'm not sure what that'll be yet, but basically this is on offer. You guys can create a ship from scratch if you want, if you don't like this. But what I'm effectively saying is you've found this, like, I'm doing quotes, air quotes. You've found a bargain, which is basically this big ship. It comes with a shuttle, and you can add stuff to it by modifying it, but your patron will front the money to buy it, and you'll be in debt to your patron for this. It's a bit on sale because the guy's just going to hint at it has a dark history. That's what you would have been told, right? So it being haunted is something you won't learn about until after you've purchased it. And he won't tell you about the eccentric AI, but because he knows it's the case, the guy who's selling it has got to really knock the price down so that you're not going to take it straight back or cause him any problems. So that's my pitch to you. It will have an arboretum on board, so it'll have, I know a big selling point from another ship we talked about was it having an arboretum.
I get my trees.
Yep, so you'll have your trees and your...
Happy with that.
You guys happy with that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool.
The Arboretum is back in town.
Our Excel spreadsheet will also have a sheet in it for the ship. And if one of us wants to come up with some rough deck plans and stuff, maybe one of us can do that in the 4 weeks before we start.
I'm interested in doing that, actually. If
Awesome.
anyone else.
Okay, cool. So we'll get all that sorted offline, and including like exactly what features it contains, because that takes a long time to work out. That's basically the spaceship. Name-wise, I was actually we'll do this offline as well. I was going to come up with a name that the guy selling it to you had given it. So I'll give you an option, and then you can feel free to argue amongst yourselves for a better or a different name. So that's the spaceship creation. And the last thing we want to touch on before we finish the show is the system creation. Now, the cool thing about Coriolis is that they have provided a lot of detail in the books on the 36 systems that make up the Third Horizon. So if you don't want to generate your own stamp on these systems, you can go through the books and you can pretty much flesh them out according to the lore within the books. However, they also encourage GMs to put their own stamp on these systems. And this is what we're going to do. I really like this, and we're going to do this for the starting star system. So where we're going to start in session 1. And to do this, we use 2 books. The core rule book, which has a table with all 36 of the star systems in it. And we're going to use the Atlas Compendium, which is a shorter supplement. As the name would suggest, it's an Atlas book. It contains more detail about some of the systems in the Third Horizon. But more importantly, at the back of the book, it has a system generator. So using the first table in the core rulebook, we make a D66 roll, which is you roll 2 D6s together, one being the 10s digit, one being the 1s digit. And that tells you which of the named star systems you're going to be using. And they actually do provide a bit of detail with that. They provide the number of stars in that system. So they're either a solitary, binary, or trinary system. And for each of those stars within the system, it tells you how many planets or bodies are within. So for an example, if we look at Algol is one of the systems. If you roll a 13 on a D66, It has 3 stars, it's a trinary system, and it tells you that for the first star, it has 6 planets, which also include an asteroid belt and some gas giants in there. It doesn't tell you how many of either of those, it just tells you there's at least an asteroid belt and at least 1 gas giant included in those 6. Then the second system, it says 0. There are no planets in that second around that second star. And the final one, the third star, it has 2 planets around it, with nothing denoted for asteroids or gas giants. So that's just 2 standard planets. So you make that roll, you find out which system you're in, you get a rough idea of what's within that system. Then you jump into the Atlas Compendium, and there are random tables for everything to generate this system. You can look up, you can roll for planet size. You can roll for, if it's a gas giant, what color the gas giant is, what the temperature of the gas giant is, the characteristics of that gas giant. You can roll about the asteroid belt to give you to find out how big it is, what the composition is, the characteristics of that asteroid belt. You also roll to see what's in orbit around each of the planets. You roll for atmosphere if it's not a gas giant. You roll for temperature, geosphere, which is, is it a desert, arid, wet world, Earth-like world, whatever. Population, spaceports, and then the really exciting thing is you get hooks. You get a D66 table full of hooks for that planet. You also get a couple of tables which have factions. So you roll the first one, which tells you how many factions are at play and their relationship to each other on this planet, and then you roll to find out which factions are there. So it's a really, really cool system to generate your own unique stamp on the third horizon, while still keeping it within the lore, because obviously the hooks and the factions really tie that back to this setting. We've done that, and rather than it took quite a long time to do it. So rather than show you, the listeners, the entire process, I've just summarized what we did. We did it as a group exercise, shared the roles, so it wasn't just me rolling for everything. And in the end, we landed on the system Melek, and we rolled just for 1 planet, which we rolled as a gas giant, which is a dense gas giant with a spot on it, similar to Jupiter. A temperature of 500 degrees Celsius with lead deposits on it, or lead within the planet. It has at least 1 moon orbiting it. It has a spaceport, which I'm going to say is on one of the moons, and there are 2 factions on this operating around this gas giant. They're balanced, which means there's no clear swing one way or the other, whether it's which one is dominant. And those 2 are the Consortium, which is a Zenithian faction, kind of like a massive corporation, and the Nomad Federation, which are an unaffiliated group of nomads traveling around the third horizon. So those 2 factions are at play somehow around this planet. I then rolled 3 hooks from the hook table just to give me some options, and I'm not going to share them because I did this kind of secretly, but I did it for myself so that I would know, I'd get some starting ideas for how we're going to start that first session. And that system generation, it was really fun. I can go through later and I can generate the rest of the planets around the Melek system. In fact, Melek has 5 planets around the system. So I could do the same process for 4 more planets. They don't all have to be gas giants. In fact, when I look at one of the maps that come with the book, it has, for every system, it gives you the type of stars, the planets again, and it gives you 3 things that system is known for. So for Melek, it's known for the blue gas giant of Jibri. Another thing is the Hormus spaceport. And finally, the radiation spires, which I'd have to think around whether I want to use that and what that means exactly. There's no detail given for any of these things that it's known for. They're just words that you can use for a bit of inspiration, and you can kind of run with it in any way you want. Some of them will have a corresponding entry somewhere in one of the books, but most of them are just fairly obvious, like maybe one of them is known for their wine, or they're known for their corsairs, pirates, that sort of thing. But anyway, the tools provided for system generation are incredibly rich, and I'm really excited to be using them. And it's, again, great for sandbox play, which is exactly what we want. So that is star system generation finished.
If I could say something real quick,
Yeah,
I
go
have
for it.
helped people make probably close to 20 or 30 characters, and once you get the system down, you can crack out a character in 15 minutes. It does not take long at all. I really
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, I've also created a ton of characters for games I've never actually played, and you get the hang of it very, very quickly. Once you've created maybe two, the third one goes super quick. Okay, so that is it. That is basically our character group, ship, and system generation mostly finished. We'll do the rest of it offline. But basically, that is how you start the game. You start off with a group concept, you start off with character concepts, a spaceship that you have, and a starting system. Now, the starting system is optional. We're going to start hopefully in media res in session one. And this just gives us a starting point. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, just want to talk about house rules again very quickly. Initiative is going to be house ruled. Criticals are going to be house ruled to make it a little bit more deadly. That's it. That's all I've got planned for at the moment. Campaign format is going to be I'm going to be aiming for a sandbox campaign where I'm using a lot of the techniques and the tips that we've mentioned in previous sandbox episodes on Mud and Blood. So that's basically it. Does anybody have anything else they want to mention or talk around before we close the show?
Our theme music, as ever, is Berserker.
No, not quite this time. We're still using Danheim. It's just a different track.
Oh, shit.
And the track we're using is called Valraven. You can find him at all the usual spots. He's got a YouTube channel. He's on Spotify. He's on Bandcamp, and he's got his own website. Danheim will be using the same intro and outro music for the entire campaign. And the background music that you've heard throughout the show is from tabletopaudio.com. They provide free-to-use background music for people that use in role-playing. They also make all their tracks available for Roll20, which is how I actually came across them.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll have to try that out.
Yeah, got a lot of really cool ambient music. Okay, and just to finish off the show, you can find us at our website, mbcast.co, I've already mentioned. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch at Mud and Bloodcast. On Google+, we have a community at mbcast.co/G+. We have a Discord server where we've got a lot of active people, a really great community starting there, mbcast.co/Discord. And we also have a few videos up on YouTube that'll be increasing over time, mbcast.co/YouTube. Again, the link for our Excel spreadsheet that we're going to be using throughout this campaign is mbcast.co/COR-notes1. So that's core-notes1. I'll be putting links to all of these sites in the show notes. And finally, how to contact the others. If you want to get in touch with any of these guys on social media, I'll let you guys talk through them yourself, actually, rather than me say it.
I'm on Twitter at Adamattley, ATTLEY. Mostly shit posting, but with some tabletop material in there.
Okay. Charlotte?
You could find me at Foxfire22, and that is FOXFYRE22. And to be opposite of Adam, you'll find mostly tabletop stuff from me with a very little bit of shit posting.
And Nathan?
And yeah, I've kind of not been using Twitter of late, so if I'm around on Discord, it will be under my gamer tag of many years, which is Heegz, HEEGZ.
Cool. And again, you'll find all three of these guys over on our Discord channel if you want to get in touch with any of them through Discord. Again, that's mbcast.co/Discord. Okay, so thanks for listening, and I hope you are all excited about this campaign, as excited as I am. And if you have any comments or you have any feedback or you have any suggestions, then get in touch with us on one of the social media platforms that we've discussed. Thanks, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.